Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us. With me on the panel today, we've got Warwick Marsh, the CEO of Dads for Kids. We've got Justine To from the Centre for Public Christianity and also psychologist and teacher Colette Smart. Thank you guys all so much for being with us. Colette, the stages of parenting, they are varied from infancy, childhood, teens, adolescence, etc., adulthood. Is it difficult for parents to navigate those different stages of the parenting journey?
Every parenting stage has its joys and its challenges. When you bring home this new baby and you might have a toddler at home and you have a baby who sleeps or doesn't sleep, that could affect everything. You have some teens that sail through the adolescent years, and then things tend to go wrong as they're leaving school. I think it also depends on your temperament, your child's temperament. You might have life circumstances changing. There might be a separation. You might have lost your job. There's a lot of things that will come into change or alter different stages of parenting. So I don't think it's a one size fits all.
And it's a season of a lot of change, right? Like through those seasons, a lot changes for the parents. Warwick, what would you say to that, the experience parents are facing as their children grow up?
Well, it's interesting. Elizabeth Bukhari says that grief is the price we pay for love. And Colette was talking about the different stages of parenting, and there's a grief that goes along with each stage as you leave that stage. So the baby's born, a great joy for the family. The baby becomes a toddler and doesn't need mum as much, and mum's a bit sad inside. The mother probably more so. Then the little toddler goes to school and it's quiet at home, and it's another ball game. And then of course the child grows up into teenage years and starts becoming more independent, and there's a sadness there for both mum and dad. So I would argue that being a parent is going through these stages of grief in the best possible way. And releasing your child to growth, releasing your child to new opportunities, releasing your child to be independent.
I think any form of change brings some kind of stress. Even happy change, even going on a holiday, an overseas holiday, there's stress to that. And so you're right. So the changes, even in our children's years and growing up, there's some stress that comes with that. And you might love that they're going to high school. It still brings grief.
And then when they leave home, I don't know if you've experienced this yet, Colette, but leaving home, tell us.
Well, it's a whole new ball game. And I don't think, even though I'm a psychologist, I never imagined I would go through the emotions that I've gone through when my son, who's 22, left home and he's moved out with his mates, and he's happy and he loves it. And I'm kind of conflicted. Part of me knows it's the right thing and it's wonderful, and another part of me misses him terribly, and I want to text him every 5 minutes. So yeah, it's working out where to let go.
What's it like to have a silent home?
No, it's not silent. It's still not silent because I still have two at home.
Indeed. I mean, with my wife and I have 5 kids, and they eventually left. Our youngest daughter left last, and this silence, like you wake up and it's just silence, and it's sort of almost worrying, like something's wrong. It's silent, because when the children are young, especially, there's lots of noise and there's fights and all sorts of wonderful things happening. But ultimately, silence comes, and you have to embrace the silence and also release your children to be who they're meant to be.
And Justine, you're a mum of a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old. What does parenting look like for you at the other end of the spectrum?
Well, it's funny hearing you guys talk, because we've been through these terrible years of COVID and homeschooling and lockdown. And on the other side of that, my son was invited to his friend's house, but he's at the stage, this is my 9-year-old now, but he's at the stage where I don't need to go with him. But then it was like, we haven't done this though. Like we actually, because he's been home the whole time, I haven't done a parent-free supervised play date. Yeah. So I was like, what do I do? So I'm trying to download quickly, these are your private areas and all this. Yes. It was terrible, but it really just reminded me what a black hole COVID took us into in that sense, because it stopped all those kind of developmental sort of milestones, I suppose, that would have been there otherwise.
Having said that, I think from our children's point of view, and I love your comment, Justine, I think COVID will be warmly remembered because it's a time when they had mum and dad to themselves. That's my feeling. What are your thoughts?
I do think that, and it's a hard thing for someone like me who wants to have a successful career as well, but I really need to sit with the fact that kids just want their parents. They want their attention, they want their love, they want them to invest in them. So if I get home and like last night I had to go out and do something, and then my 7-year-old is going, no, don't, then I'm like, yeah. And I should feel that struggle, you know? Like I don't want to say to the mums out there, no, never go and do those things. But every mum gets it, you know, there is that twinge. And as long as we're kind of aware of that and we're always mindful that somewhere someone's making that sacrifice, right? Either it's you making that sacrifice to be there for your kids, or they're making a sacrifice of your presence for them. So as long as we can always remember that, and if I can instill that in them as well when they become parents, or even not even parents, but when they become a good friend to someone else, do you know what I mean? Like I think that's really important.
But going to your COVID question, the young adults and teenagers, that was rough for them.
It was hard, yeah.
They missed, as much as they loved, maybe they didn't love being with their parents every 5 minutes. I think a lot of them didn't, that they were missing out on getting licenses, and we saw a whole bunch of young people coming out struggling with social skills because they'd missed this whole period of a time when they should have been interacting and learning. And, you know, one of the reasons why my son, I think, moved out, not the only reason, but he moved out because he felt like COVID had taken so much from him, where he should have been traveling and doing these things, and he's just loving being out and being independent. So it's changed things a little bit.
And it sounds like change is really one of the biggest things you've got to navigate as a parent. Like that's a feature no matter what, you know, time of life it is. But Warwick, through those different stages, how do you think, I mean, maybe from a dad's perspective, what does it look like to be present in the life of your child as they grow and change and do all of the different things through life? Change
is the only constant. And this is why parenting is so hard, because it's like once you learn how to look after a toddler, then you've got to look after a, you know, the sort of, you know, kindergarten level. Then it goes to primary school. So the children are growing all the time. Things are changing. Your children are all different. So there's all these differentials as well. Look, I'm not sure I've really got any brilliant answers. I wish I could. Parenting is a lot of trial and error, if the truth be known.
Yep.
That's probably not something we should be saying in this panel, but, you know.
We should, because I think...
You mean we can tell the truth?
Yes.
You sure?
Because otherwise parents think there's some goal that they're missing. Somehow there's this mystery that they don't know. I'm so glad you said it.
Well, I think parenting is actually very hard, because there's no such thing as a perfect parent. There's no such thing as a perfect child. So you're mixing this imperfect parent with, you know, and in many ways your children teach you more about being a good parent than you do being a good children. So there's this backwards and forwards, and so I haven't got a very good answer, but at least I've been honest. Is that right?
Yeah, you've been honest. Thank you for being honest.
And maybe honesty with your kids. Is that something, Colette, from a psychological perspective? Do you need to do that?
Yes, absolutely. I think, you know, gone are the days where we didn't talk about pain to children, or didn't talk about some of the things we were going through with our children. Now, I'm not saying you save all your deepest, darkest stuff for your kids. You know, obviously we need to have adults in our own lives that we offload on, but it's good to show our children what it feels like to be human, when there's pain, when we feel anxious about something, you know, the anxiety of applying for a new job, and they learn life skills.
Tell me something, Colette, what do you think about this? A lot of parents say, I don't want to take my kids to the funeral. I would say take the children to a funeral. Yeah. They need to know about death, even if it's a very early stage and look, that person's now gone, no longer alive, but they need to understand grief, and the best way for them to understand it is actually observe adults. What are your thoughts?
Yes, because I think if our children don't see us live in the real stuff of life, and you know, sometimes we joke about bubble wrapping our kids, and I also sometimes want to protect them from everything, but it makes them weaker if they don't have real life experiences where we're around them, where they are safe but they can experience life's pain in safe ways.
Very good.
That they're more resilient when they leave the home.
Thank you for bringing that thought to the table, and thank you everyone for your contributions, and thank you guys for watching.